if we mark the line correctly in the first place and cut it right to the line, it should be square. But often you'll find it's out a very little bit, as it is here, a little bit high at this end. We can tackle that with the bench plane. And that's possible, but a better plane for using in that situation would be a block plane. The angle of the blade in the block plane is slightly lower than the bench plane, and that works on end grain a little bit better. And that's nearly there. Good. The reason we don't really need to be too accurate on this project is that at the top end of the sideboards we're going to be cutting some tenons. So the end of this is going to be pretty much all cut away anyway. And at the other end we're going to be cutting a little curve to form two separate feet. So once again, most of it is going to disappear. And with the feet as well, when the stool's completely assembled, we'll put it on a flat surface and we'll probably have to adjust the feet so that it sits level. One thing you'll notice here when I'm planing the end grain, I plane from one end but not all the way through, and then I turn around and plane back in the other way, and again not all the way through. If I plane the whole way through, there's a good likelihood that we'll get tear out at the end. If I stop before I get to the end, there's no chance of tear out. So with our two sides and our seat, the first joints I want to lay out for are the tenons at the top of the sides. I don't want the tenons to show through on this first seat, so I'm going to set my depth on this combination square to be about 1/8 of an inch less than the thickness of the seat. Then I can transfer that mark to the top of the sides. Then taking a tri-square, I can continue that line right the way round. I want to set the outside of the legs 2 inches in from the edge of the seat. So I'll mark that, both ends. I want to have a slight shoulder all the way round the tenons, so I'm just going to mark up for 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to set those tenons in 3/4 of an inch from the front and back of the seat. And I'm going to make them 1 inch wide. So I've hashed in the areas that need to be removed, and we need to take them down to a depth of 3/4 of an inch. There are lots of different ways to cut these mortises. You could drill most of the material out and then chisel them square. I'm going to just use a chisel. I've got a chisel that's just under 1 inch here. And first of all I'm going to mark the boundaries of the mortise. You can do this with a knife. I'm going to do this with the chisel. Just line the edge up on my line. Press it in. This wood's very soft, so it's perfectly easy to do it like that. And remember, as long as we cut these mortises square, we can fit the tenons to them. Now just extend those right to the corners of the 1 inch mortise. And I also like to slightly define with the grain, so I've got a smaller chisel here that will fit within that area. And I'll just press in a little bit. And I'm starting in the middle, and this is a bevel edge chisel I'm using here. Just remove the material from the middle to begin with, and that avoids then the bevel of the chisel. Moving the chisel back from our lines. A little bit closer to our edges. You can start to lever out some of this waste. I'll just take a couple more deeper knocks in the middle. Now gradually walk the chisel up closer to the edges of the mortise. Now turn the chisel round in the right direction for a straight cut down the edge of the mortise. That's good. You can just remove that bit of material next to the line. And we can lever that waste out. Put the chisel closer still to our line. And this time we can put the chisel right in our line. You'll notice the change in sound when we get down to the depth that we've chiselled out in the middle. So just work on the other side now. And pop it into the line. I'll take my smaller chisel this time and just pop that into the knife lines at the side, and we can pair straight down with that. And same this side. Take a bit of waste first of all, then into the line. And we just need to continue chopping till we get to depth. The good support that we've got underneath, and I've got it above the leg of the bench, means that the back side of the seat, or what is actually the top side of the seat, is perfectly safe as long as we don't chisel too deep. And I can use my combination square set to the correct depth for the tenons, and as soon as that goes in all the way, I know I'm deep enough. And that's perfect. You should end up with a nice clean rectangular hole with square sides and a flat bottom. The more mortises you cut, the more confident you'll be, and you better hit the chisel harder and make quicker progress. But in situations like this where you've got knots, it's always a little tricky to know exactly what's going to happen, so it's best to take it more gently. And that's it. That's all for mortises cut. Now we can turn our attention to the tenons.